labor organization in the regional project, and we are responsible for delivering data and research related to the regional project main goals, for just getting some information about policy formulation in Hungary, in Hungarian regions related to adult learning. Well, the first thing which I have to tell you that actually there is no Hungarian word for policy. It's very hard to just get the whole concept for the people who are participating in adult learning development or decision making, that they should have some kind of a policy at all, because they say, and you can see it in our surveys, that actually they say that there is an adult learning law which is responsible for everything, so they don't need a policy, because the legal framework is delivering everything which they have to know. Actually, this is not true, and when you ask them that what are your goals, and they can tell you what are the goals, even though these goals are not represented in the law. So it should come from somewhere else. The main sources of this type of information and data are coming from EU-related strategic documentations, and some high-level Hungarian adult learning strategies, which are delivered by the National Ministry of Economics. Actually, the whole vocational education and adult learning is related to the National Ministry of Economics and independent from the National Ministry of Education. So these two institutions are really fighting for each other for responsibility over schools and infrastructure about training. Well, you will see that my presentation is not the final version, and because we are a little bit lagging behind ourselves. But here are the NUTS 2-level regions of Hungary, and these are the three involved regions which we were focusing on inside the regional project. These are some numbers related to these regions. This is Central Hungary, North the Grain Plain, and the Southern Transdanubia. I will go back to that. This is Central Hungary. This is Northern Great Plain, and this is Southern Transdanubia. This is Ukraine. This is Slovenia and Serbia, Slovakia, Austria. Here you will see that Central Hungary is totally different in all numbers than all the other regions, and this is the poorest region of Hungary. Number of employees, so you can see that much more people are employed in the central region. Number of unemployed people, also there are the most people unemployed in this region, but the unemployment rate is much lower than in the North Great Plain. Actually, these are not really high numbers, which you can see, but this is affected by a new so-called policy, which is a central policy, to hire everyone by the state who have no job. So it's a very strange situation right now in Hungary. They say that like 40 years ago, that there should be no people without a job. So if someone has no job, then the state or the local government should employ him or her, and giving anything work, like just working beside the street. So there was some kind of strange statistical data that there was 300 meters of road which were taken care about by 30 people for 1 year. And so it's not the most effective way of using funds. Actually, mostly we use EU funds for doing this kind of jobs. This is the GDP. It's just to show that what are the differences between regions. Actually, Central Hungary, this is the GDP per capita. This is above the 80% of the EU average. So the Central Hungary is not a convergence region. People in training, you can see that this is a much higher number than the amount of people who are living there or employed there. So the activity in training is much higher in Central Hungary. This is very strange because the unemployment rate is much higher in the other regions. So this is because there are some special rules in Hungary which are not really supporting e-learning or distance learning solutions, which makes it very hard for the poorer region people to participate in any kind of training. It is, I will translate the whole form so you will understand it, but right now I think it's enough that these are trainings related to vocational training, job-related training, delivered not by the employer. And these are the language training, general adult learning, and IT training. So you can see that the numbers are quite low compared to these numbers. So from the survey we found that we have surveyed more than 10 people from all the regions and from the central governmental institutions as well. And the main findings were that they said that the funding comes from more than 70% from EU funds for any kind of adult learning projects. The rest is paid by national funds, and the participation fees are less than 8% or even smaller. But these trainings are delivered mostly to unemployed people, because the basic idea behind Hungarian adult learning is to find people who are unemployed and get them work. And we are really focusing on these issues. So the lowest level of these kind of policies are related to finding those people who have not finished any obligatory education, like the K-12 education. So we try to find them and put them into adult learning and teach them the comprehensive, the basic skills, the basic core competencies which are related to the labor market. And then when you go up and you find some people still without a job, but having at least the basic educational background, then they start to deliver them basic job-related trainings, which are related to bus driving or something like this. So no high-level trainings. Most high-level trainings are paid by the employer or the employee by themselves, and not included within this type of policies or anything like that. So PPPs are not existing, and they are not existing not because that there is no need for that. These are not existing because that is prohibited. So actually the government says that there should be no employer participation in financing training, because that's the job for the government, and the government should take the responsibility. And this way I go back to this slide. each region has a regional development agency, but these regional development agencies have lost their training facilities. And the central government just took over that, and they have created a new state-owned centralized training facility, which have different areas and different buildings in every region, but maintained and ordered centrally. So these regions don't really have the money and influence on training facilities to deliver any kind of regional policy. So although there are huge differences between regions related to unemployment, training, and etc., there are no differences in regional adult learning policies in Hungary. And all the other data and the details will be in the country profile. So I think these are the basic information about what we have found out during the surveys. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Regional, a comparative analysis of regional policies for adult learning, supported by the European Lifelong Learning Programme.